In the previous lecture, we learned about the unexpected behavior caused by treating strings like numeric values, and that if you are dealing with input that is supposed to be a number, it's best to convert strings that contains numeric characters into real numbers or numeric data types. JavaScript provides few ways to convert strings to numbers. One way is with the ParseInt method, which converts a numeric string to an integer. An integer is a whole number without a decimal point, like 5, 10, 100, or 30. We can provide the ParseInt method a numeric string and it returns an integer value. This is a good way to solve the problem from our previous lecture. So first I'll test it in the console with type of ParseInt midterm score and type of ParseInt final term score. I'll save the change, refresh the page. I'll enter 75 for midterm score and 80 for final term score. Notice how this time type of midterm score returns number and type of final term score also returns number. Good. So now I'll update the value of the total scores variable to ParseInt midterm score plus ParseInt final term score. Let's see how this works now. I'll save the change, refresh the page. I'll enter 75 for midterm score and 80 for final term score. And now I get 155 total scores. There is also a similar method for numbers that have decimal points. It's called ParseFloat. It also gets a numeric string value and returns a floating point number. Let me comment out these 3 lines so that they don't run in the browser. Now I'll define a new variable named price and assign it a numeric string 1.3. Then display it in the console. The quote marks around 1.3 means that the value stored in price is a string. For example, adding the type of operator in front of price, you'll definitely return a string. This time I'll use the ParseFloat method and provided the string value stored in price. I'll save the change, refresh the page. Checking the console, notice how the type of variable price returns number. That means it's a number now. As you can see, the type of operator is really handy and developers use it all the time to check a variable's type and ensure that it's a correct data type. We can even use the ParseInt and ParseFloat method on numbers that includes letters and non-numeric characters. For example, I'll pass ParseFloat the string $5.2. If string starts with a number followed by other characters, ParseFloat returns the number only. Notice how it returns just the number part at the very beginning of the string, 5.2. However, if the string begins with letters, you'll get a strange value. This time I'll use ParseInt and pass it the string Notice in the console how it returns nan. Nan stands for not a number, and it's JavaScript's way of saying that it can't find a number, at least at the beginning of the string. The nan usually represents an error, for example, a result of an incorrect mathematical operation. You'll get a variety of different return values from the ParseInt and ParseFloat methods. For example, if I use the ParseInt method and pass it a string that's a decimal number like 22.33, I only get the 22 part back because ParseInt only returns a whole number or an integer. There are other ways to convert a string to a number in JavaScript. For example, in a previous lecture, we learned to use the unary plus operator as a quick way of converting string to a number. We place a plus symbol just before the variable name or a string that we want to convert to a number. Back in my JavaScript file, I'll uncomment these 3 lines. and update the value of the total scores variable to plus midterm score, followed by the addition operator, then plus final term score, and display the total scores in the console. The unary plus operator will convert the numeric string value to number. I'll save the change, refresh the page. I'll enter 75 for midterm score and 80 for final term score. The console displays 155 for total scores. Keep in mind that the unary plus operator works with both integers and floating point numbers. For example, I'll refresh the page, and this time I'll type 70.2 for the midterm score and 80.5 for the final term score. The console displays 150.7. However, many developers often prefer code readability over brevity. So it's still really common to use the ParseInt and ParseFloat methods because they clearly explain their purpose. Since we'll work with strings frequently, especially when collecting input from a user, you'll need to be really careful when dealing with strings that contain numbers. Remember, to do math using input values, always convert the string to an integer or floating point number using the methods we just learned.